Start your day with Nature Made.
Good afternoon, Pastor Brian.
Good afternoon to you.
I'm glad you came home.
I am glad to be back. Yes.
Don't
yes.
say that. You were with your family. You're supposed to say, it was too short.
I was happy to be with my family, but I missed the first week after Pentecost.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
that is a moment in time that you'll never recover.
No, we went on a little trip to Duck Creek, and in Utah.
Yep.
So
Yep.
good little getaway.
How far is that? Is that like 3 hours from here?
Ish.
Yeah.
A little bit more. But.
And not far. I've only been to Luther Wood years ago, which is in the neck of the woods.
But it is in that neck of the woods.
How far is it to like Panguitch Lake? Because I know there's a lake up there.
So that's
Is that farther away?
That's you'd have to go a little bit further. I mean, you could still do it within that 3.5 4 hour range.
Yeah, but it's not like the next town over.
No, you can't just jump over to it. I mean there's kind of that one pass through the mountains on Highway 14 there,
Right.
And then you have to find little ways to get to
This and that.
Panguitch Lake, or different things like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but it's
Did you see any wildlife?
Let's see, what wildlife did we see? Not a whole lot.
A little quiet.
Of wildlife.
Okay.
I mean, the birds were going pretty good, which quite a few birds.
That's nice.
Actually, yeah. And then, I don't know. As far as wildlife goes,
Not much. Did you do the cooking over a campfire?
we did. So we actually went up. So it was actually our neighbors who got a site.
Okay.
And then they asked if we wanted to join us, and
I thought you were going to say you crashed. Like we found out they had a site and we just showed up.
we kind of did.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, they I don't know, hadn't been camping for a while, and they just whatever. We done some of these trips together, so we went up there, had that time. But one of their kids was super sick, so that the very first night they had to take their kid to the ER back in Cedar
City.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
And then
tough.
they packed up and left the next day.
Speaking of ERs, I finally got my bill for the ER visit for the leg.
Yeah.
Get this, the uninsured full retail price of that ER visit was something like $20,000.
Yeah.
$20,000. They took a picture of my leg, they drew some blood, and gave me a couple of pills.
Yeah.
$20,000.
$20,000.
Now, on top of that, I'm glad I'm insured. So the insured price was 10% of that, so that's $2,000. Once again, $2,000 to take a picture, draw some blood, and give me 2 pills. That's crazy.
That's a lot.
No, I'm not telling you I didn't get good care. I got excellent care. I'm saying the healthcare pricing world, that's out of control.
Yeah.
That's out of control.
That's a lot. I know.
The 2 pills they gave me, which was the first of the blood thinners, $150.
Okay.
To fill the prescription for 30 days is $20. there's just something wrong with our healthcare administration. I'm not saying
You have good healthcare providers. You're
yes,
satisfied
correct.
with those folks.
But the billing is just
Yeah,
nuts.
I know with my two kids,
Yeah.
I cringe
Yeah,
every time they
get
bonk their
sick.
head.
Yeah, right. I get
And I
it.
can see my wife's gleam in her eye that she wants to take them over to the
ER.
ER, and I'm like,
Let's
that's a
wait.
lot. Yeah.
Let's wait to see if they pass out.
Yeah, right? Seriously. Oh, but no, I mean,
Yeah.
overall, good health care, but,
Yeah.
fairly expensive.
It
which
is.
Which is a reverse. I just learned that our very first president, George Washington, was killed by doctors.
Yeah.
I did not realize that. They came over to his house and just said, let's take another few pints of blood out of him and see what happens.
Let's put the leeches on and see what
Yeah,
happens.
and-
Yeah, and he had tonsillitis.
Yeah. Woke up with a sore throat.
Yeah, because he had
so
been out riding in the winter weather.
Invite a doctor over, and the next doctor, and the next doctor, and each one wants to take,
A pint or so.
yeah.
And
pretty soon,
bloodletting.
Yes. Yeah.
Of course, with the clot, that sounded like a good idea to take some
Just
out
take
at
some out.
at this point. But
Maybe that's who you needed.
the other
leech doctor.
update is, because I talked a little bit about on Sunday my left Achilles tendon, and as you know, we talked about it last week during the broadcast. It's like 95% better, and that's normally how it goes. Is it flares up and it is hot and heavy and painful, and as long as I nurse it and wrap it, and it usually takes about a week, and here we are. It was like last Tuesday, it was just starting, and Wednesday was the worst. But yeah, it's 90. I can wear dress shoes today and without crying. So last Sunday, although it is the first Sunday after Pentecost, I get the feeling it wasn't Memorial Day weekend that you chose to leave. It was actually because it was Holy Trinity Sunday,
Holy Trinity Sunday.
which we did not talk about at all because we went back to Joseph, of course.
Right.
And it's one of those minor holidays.
It is. But we sang Holy, Holy, Holy the week before.
So we got it covered.
So we got it
Yeah,
covered.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
which wert and art and evermore shall be. Yes.
I like that.
Verse 1,
Yeah.
closing stanza.
Yes.
Yes. Right? I still like, though the eye may blind by sin, thy glory may not see. Verse 2. That's a great line in that.
That is a great line.
So somebody asked me, it's
zingers in
like,
that one.
well, why wouldn't you recognize Holy Trinity Sunday? And my basic reply was this: is there's no reason for me to preach heresy any Sunday of the church year, and Holy Trinity, talking about the Trinity, is pretty much speculation and easy to trip into heresy. So
It is, which is surprising. I mean, it's something that we
It's a
talk
mystery.
about,
It's
but
a
it is
mystery.
a mystery.
Yeah.
And it's not something that Jesus gets into in talking about the Trinity, or
No.
Jesus doesn't bring that up.
no, he doesn't say, well, if you're going to be my followers, you have to believe in.
Yes.
We do believe in the Trinity, but that wasn't necessarily like his main thing. Like
It doesn't show up in the word Trinity, doesn't show up in the Bible.
right,
It's not
right. But I mean, he mentions Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
mentions
We
Father,
see
Son,
it
and Holy
mentioned
Spirit.
even in the baptism of Jesus, where we see Jesus the Son being baptized. The Father speaks, "This is my Son of whom I am well
Mm-hmm.
pleased," and then we see the Spirit descending like, not a dove, but like a dove. So we get Trinitarian glimpses throughout Scripture.
Yeah.
We just don't use that word,
Yeah.
but it's there, right?
It is there.
But it just seems to me that in a lot of ways, I'm just going to be very practical. Like there is very little in terms about talking about a doctrine of the church, which we fully believe in, that is going to make an impact in your daily life. You know what I'm saying? Like a class on the Trinity might be something that's okay, but to preach on it, there's very little that you could use to take home and like apply it
Yeah,
to your
that's
life.
what
You
I
know
needed today.
That's what I needed to hear a sermon on the Trinity today,
Yeah.
right? But I'm not knocking the doctrine. I'm just saying it's just not a preachable moment, right? It's not.
No, I mean there are other places that really to speak to each congregation.
Yeah, that's right. So that's probably why you were like, oh, it's Trinity Sunday. I got to go.
Trinity Sunday, time to head out.
Time to get out of town.
Yes.
And be like Jesus. Get up on that Mount of Transfiguration. Get up high.
Yeah. So good little place.
so
it was cool weather.
So
and
when you got back down to the lowlands, did you say, how much longer do I have to deal with this faithless generation?
I have not said that
You
yet.
have not said that yet.
I'll have to work
Save
that
it
in
for the
somewhere.
next trip to the
Yes.
mountains.
Yes.
When you come down.
Yeah.
So, but we, just catching you up, we picked up on Joseph, and we're going to revisit a song today from Sunday that gets to the heart of where Joseph was at after everything that he'd been through. And so, and I think that there are moments in our lives when we get to this place where we're just empty. There's nothing left in the tank. You've been beat up, beaten down, bad news, and you're about as low as you can go, right? And yet the message that we talked about this past week is no matter how low you are, God's still there, right? And so, and I think we need to hear that occasionally too,
Yeah.
And even when, not everything is wonderful in your world, like an Achilles tendon and a blood clot and, blah, blah, blah,
All
blah,
the
blah, right?
things,
But you just keep moving forward because to me, giving up or giving in or being dejected actually doesn't do me any good.
But and we
Right.
all have whatever those situations may
Yeah.
be. We all have situations that arise in our lives every single day that we could choose to give up on.
Yeah.
Whatever.
That's right.
And people do. And you know what? It might not be as traumatic as Joseph's, but
There are things that get to us.
they get to us. Absolutely, they do.
Yep. I mean, even in the office today, we're still dealing with a copy machine issue, and
We're ready to go to other things. To move to other things.
Yeah,
and
just like give up. No, you just one foot in front of the other. I was being asked questions today that I couldn't answer, and part of me was like, just wanted to and I'm like, nope, take a breath. Ask yourself, what would Philip do in this situation? And that's what I was doing. So, so I was being calm,
try to be calm.
trying to be calm, and so I was doing that. I was channeling Philip in that moment. So it was good.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
And as you know, most of you know, Tuesday is our really busy day, and had a handful of meetings, handful of copier troubleshooting. Had our one of our AC technicians over today because we're fixing a couple of minor things. And last week it was our second cooling tower issue. We had one repair, and that part of the repair was fine, but another part of that motor broke down on us in week 2. And if you didn't join us last week, we had the door open in here because we thought the air conditioning in here was broken, as opposed to the whole system went down again.
Yeah.
Today we are climate controlled and back in business again.
They keep patching it together.
Yep. But we're miles ahead where we were 4 years ago. I can tell you that.
We certainly are, and the true repair is on the way.
Yeah, that's right. We have that full brand new water pump for that cooling tower coming, and we'll eventually get it. But for now, we're in an
One
okay
step at a
place,
time.
right? So did you get home on Monday or did you get home on Sunday night? I'm curious.
We got home on Monday.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Just enough time to kind of catch your breath and.
It was kind of a catch our breath.
Yep.
And then you head back in.
So yesterday laid low because I spent a lot of energy on Sunday just because my legs were bugging me a little bit. So it just wears you out. So yesterday just laid really low. But at the end of the day yesterday was Rachel and I did our first visit to the pool of the year. We don't personally have a pool because we live in a condo, but there is a pool.
It's not your pool
personally.
exclusively.
Right.
But
it is in the complex. My HOA monthly dues tells me I have access.
you have full access
to the pool.
To this pool.
So we actually went out to the community pool, I guess is what it would be called in our neighborhood, and we spent some time just relaxing, not swimming laps, just lounging in the pool. And then after that, we both sat on lawn chairs that are there and let the water evaporate in the nice 100-degree heat. So, but that's early for us.
Very cool.
May and pool time for us. It usually doesn't happen until late June that we finally make it out there. But we just said, let's just do it.
It was the time.
Yep. So that was enjoyable too. And except for getting a little sunscreen in my eyes, I had to come home and put Visine in my eyes.
Visine.
Visine keeps the red out. And so I actually have some. So yeah, so my eyes were like, because I wasn't underwater a lot, so it wasn't the chlorine. It was, we'd sprayed sunscreen on, and I think I got some in my eyes. So, but a little Visine did the trick, and
you're able to come back.
Yep. Could you imagine me adding to that, having 2 eye patches on today after first the legs, and then you just see a bandage across my face with glasses over the bandage, like, could you imagine?
You know what? That would be something. That would be quite the story, though.
Yeah, I talked about on Sunday the fact that sometimes you think you've hit this lowest level, and then it's a false floor, and you go lower.
You show up next week, and you have
your
eye patches on.
I've been blinded myself with sunscreen to add insult to injury. So thankfully, that did not happen.
We put our hope in Visine.
Yeah, exactly. I even looked at the expiration date, and it's good until August before I have to
use it up then.
Get fresh Visines. I don't have to use it that often, so that's why I have a full bottle. So, yeah, I think that covers it, right?
I think we're good for a
Okay.
Tuesday.
Maybe we should just sign off now and be done.
I think so.
That's it. We're over. No, we had this great song.
Yes.
And we're anxious to share a little bit about the history of this song. So take a listen. If you're at 9:30, you heard this. If you attend the other services, you will find this to be a blessing to you. So enjoy it, and we'll talk about it when you come back.
Close every door to me, hide all the world from me, bar all the windows and shut out the light. Do what you want with me, hate me and laugh at me, darken my daytime and torture my night. If my life were in one tie, would ask, will I live or die? But I know the answers lie far from this world. Close every door to me, keep those I love from me. Children of Israel are never alone. For I know I shall call my own peace of mind, for I have been promised a land of my own. Just give me a number instead of my name. Destroy me completely and let me decay. I do not matter. I'm only one person. Destroy me completely, then throw me away. If my life were in one, I would ask,
Wow.
Wow is right. Wow.
I bet you didn't get that in Duck Creek.
No, I did not. No. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so
Very cool.
so this is the one time in this sermon series that a song from Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat kind of fit what we wanted to convey in music this week. So we were able to fit this in right at the right moment of the story we're telling. Keith and Philip were like, this is the song for this. And then made sure not just that Tony was singing, but also the choir. You saw the blending of the choir.
Yeah.
And
And that's really added these past few weeks as well.
That's
but, I mean,
right.
Just what an incredible job there.
yes, so the song's called Close Every Door. And like I said, from Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, Tim Rice, Andrew Lloyd Webber. This is the closing song from Act 1 of the show, where we hit the point where Joseph is wrongly imprisoned for being accused of assaulting Potiphar's wife, which is the story we were telling this weekend, right? And some interesting things about this show is Philip and Keith and I talked about this a little bit, but was refreshed in it, is that a portion of this show happened in 1968. That's how old this is. A small portion of the show was written as a pop cantata, so a very small musical selection telling a small part of Joseph's story. And then from there it was expanded to become a musical. So it was really a small, short set of music, pieces of music. And then in 1974 it became a musical in England, and it didn't actually make it to Broadway until 1982.
Well, that's more of a history than I thought it did.
Right, as
Yeah.
opposed to, well, it was written in 1980 and opened on Broadway in 82.
Yeah, right.
And then in community theaters everywhere around the world after that, right? I mean, like
Yes.
that's the end of the, no. So it has quite a long history. And what I found most amazing about this was Andrew Lloyd Webber was 20 and Tim Rice was 23 when Joseph was written as a pop cantata.
That's
So
wild.
really young, right?
Yeah.
I was still trying to figure out my life at 20, let alone 23.
Yeah,
As
that
opposed to
is
writing-
wild how
yeah,
young they were at
right,
that time.
Right.
Yeah.
And so yeah, just kind of a wild thing. And we were told clearly today in our worship meeting, this was the only song that was worth doing during our sermon series, and that was it. The music people spoke at the table today, and they said, "This is the one, none of the rest of it." and I did at that point. I don't know the music well enough. I knew well enough not to say, but what about they laid down the law. They said, "This is the only song."
It worked.
It was the right
That
one.
was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So please, next Sunday, do not go and say, "What about?" And
Go, Joseph.
Yeah, do not suggest any other music from this musical. It will not go over well among the staff. I mean,
I think they put a lot of work into
I'll
that
entertain
one.
it, but
Yes.
but don't talk to the music people about
Yes.
it. Just so you know.
You could sing it during the last of your
Yeah,
sermon
right.
time.
Exactly. So if you were with us, or even if you weren't, so the story of Joseph, he ends up in prison, and sold into slavery from the Midianites to Potiphar. Potiphar's wife accuses him of assault. He goes to prison. It's about as low as you can go. And I talked about being at rock bottom, but at rock bottom, that's also the place where, as a person of faith, you find the foundation that is Christ in our lives.
Yeah.
And it may take time to get perspective and get your footing. It's not overnight. But when you hit bottom, there is one thing that is still there, and that's God. And Joseph discovered that too, right? But yet, here's this piece that you end the chapter 40 with, and it's terrible because Joseph interprets two dreams of two people who worked in Pharaoh's household, the cupbearer, which is the wine taster, and the baker, And the cupbearer's dream said, you're going to be working for Pharaoh within 3 days. You're going to go back and you're going to be restored. And the baker,
Yeah.
yeah,
Wasn't going to go so well.
yeah, we didn't go into that detail on Sunday, but here we are. So, and lo and behold, the wine taster cupbearer was restored to Pharaoh's household, and Joseph says to him, he's like, "Don't forget about me." I mean, this like parting words to him is like, "You're going back to a place of power, and I'm powerless. I shouldn't be here. I've been a victim. Help me out. You know, no matter what happens, help me out. I should not be here." Which it does sound like, you know, you say, you know, if you ever watch the movie The Shawshank Redemption, the joke among the inmates is, well, the jail's just filled with innocent people. Everybody's like, you know, we're all innocent. None of us did anything. We're just, you know, here by mistake. But in Joseph's sense, he really is a victim in all of this. And the chapter ends this way. The chief cupbearer, however, did not remember Joseph, and he forgot him.
It's quite the line.
Yeah.
And it, unfortunately, that can happen a lot. Where suddenly that cupbearer who was given hope by Joseph and who found meaning from Joseph, but as soon as he receives what was coming,
back to his own life.
Back to his own.
And you could imagine in a lot of situations where you think something might resolve. It doesn't have to be this, but a resolution might be coming if. And then all of a sudden, you think about, oh, a weekend. Okay, maybe it's just another couple of more days. He's getting, like it's going to come. It's just not there yet. And you're building this anticipation, and then it never comes. Yeah. And that's a blow to you when you were like expecting help, expecting a change, expecting a job offer, expecting health resolution, expecting, whatever it is that you're thinking about it and you're hoping and you think it's just around the corner, and around the corner never happens.
Right.
And then it just takes you to a new low. And chapter 41 opens, and this is how I ended on Sunday, is 2 years later. Like, holy moly, another 2 years.
And that one line, that 2 years later, that often gets forgotten when just reading through the story.
Yeah.
It's just like 2 years in that prison cell.
That's right. And now Joseph, at this point, seeing no hope of the help from the cupbearer, this is a life sentence.
Yeah.
This is a life sentence for him.
Nobody cares about him.
Nobody cares about him. And, his brothers probably think he's dead. His dad was already told he was dead. Remember, he was mauled by a wild animal, which he wasn't. And nobody in Egypt cares about him. And so you're about as low as you can go.
Yeah.
And Joseph just kept being the same person. I talked about this. One foot in front of the other. He served Potiphar's household, and it prospered. And then it says that he just went ahead and started serving people in prison. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's about just taking a step. Taking a step. When you can't change your environment, you can't change the situation, don't let the situation change you.
And that's the story of Joseph. And
Yep.
looking at the different times that you could have considered this is the end, from being sold off and
Yep.
his brothers throwing him into the pit, to sitting in prison. Like he kept taking that one step.
One step. And clearly we see in the fringes of the story that not only is God acting, because we hear that clearly in the story in Genesis, but then subtly in the story we hear, but Joseph also has a faith. Like it isn't just God acting and it's a one-way thing, that we see Joseph responding in a way that shows that he still has a faith, where he doesn't just say, that's it, I'm done with this God of my great grandfather, the God of Abraham. I'm done. You know, you haven't done anything. Like, no, he keeps the faith. He keeps, even in the lowest of lows, he keeps the faith. And I think that's always something for us to keep our hearts and minds on, is even when life is giving you lemons, you keep the faith.
Yeah.
Even in the midst of doubts, even in the midst of struggle, even in the midst of questions, you're still asking the questions if you have faith,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, and it's okay to get upset or get angry, but
God can handle it.
To give up on hope,
That's the end.
that's the end.
That is the end. And those who do are really damaged by that. I'm not saying there isn't a way back to hope, but those who have given it up are different people. It's painful to see. It's a lot like when I've done funerals or memorial services, not here at Community, but for people who have nothing, no faith. And you can see it, you can hear it in the room when it's a room full of people without faith or hope, because this funeral marks the end, and there's no future. And you can see it, you can hear it, and it is markedly different than doing a funeral for a person of faith. There's grieving,
Yeah,
but it's
for
different.
Sure.
But it's different. It's not hopeless grieving, and
like that, yeah.
and that's where the rubber meets the road. But I can't help but go back to the psalm that we studied together on Wednesdays during Lent, of this moment of Joseph's life, from Psalm 23.
Very powerful. The verse, chapter 23, verse 4. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me, and your rod and your staff, they comfort me.
Joseph walking through the valley of the shadow of death,
Yeah.
right? And even in the song, right? Just give me a number instead of my name, talking about being in prison, like getting assigned a serial number. Destroy me, complete me, and let me decay. I do not matter. I'm only one person. Destroy me completely, then throw me away. And if life were important, I would ask, will I live or die? But he's beyond even asking a question. I mean, lyrically, beyond asking the question. It's just, it's like, it's
Yeah.
moot. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
it is, yeah.
I'm nobody. I'm nothing. There's nothing left. And certainly there are times in our life when we've hit something where we feel that way, that we don't want to eat, we don't want to interact, tomorrow doesn't matter. It just, I'm going to wake up and it's going to be the same gray as it was yesterday, you know? And if you've ever been in a flat spot like that, you know what I'm talking about. And it just seems like there's nothing left to live for. Maybe you're not going to do anything about that, thank God, but at the same time, there's no joy in Mudville, as the old poem goes, right? Yeah. And that's where Joseph's at, you know, and you feel like you're walking through the valley of the shadow of death, that it's creeping up on you. And yet, the promise is, even if you don't feel it or sense it, God's going to be there. Yeah. And that is really the heart of the understanding of the death of Jesus in a lot of ways, is that understanding that he totally gets, empathizes, sympathizes, cares for, understands the pain we walk through, because the Son of God was willing to do the same on the cross and experience that forsakenness and that loneliness and that emptiness. And there's, although we might say it is untrue in the sense of, no, Jesus totally gets what it's like when life is painful and lonely and in the garbage, right? Like, he gets it because he actually did it.
And we have to hold on to that because,
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's one of the main themes of the book of Joseph,
Yeah.
is that humans will always let us down.
Yeah.
And there will always be that brokenness. I
Yeah.
mean, outside of Joseph's father, who probably would have done everything to
To save him.
But even that, I mean, it's broken.
Yep.
It's so many things. All Joseph really has to rely on
is
is
God.
God.
Yep. And he gets those glimpses, and I keep telling us that and this was one of the things I said on Sunday, is if the truth about God's care is true for Joseph, then it's true for us. Because if God is not changeable, which we believe God is not changeable, then those promises for Joseph and those signs for Joseph can be signs for us.
Yeah.
And so when you see God doing something for Joseph, you can rest assured that God wants to do the same for you in those low points. And the exclamation point to that is we have more of the story than Joseph did. We have the full revelation of God in Jesus Christ, which tells us that God absolutely wants to help us in our struggles, because we see that in his death and resurrection. So it's even more so for us, not because it's more true for us, but we've seen a greater reveal of God's will and nature in the person of Jesus, helping those who can't help themselves, helping those who are struggling, helping those who are on the outside, helping those who are at their lowest low. And Jesus showed up into their lives, and then his death itself opens a way for us, So I think there's just so much for us to hang our hat on in this story. And even if we ended it here, the sermon series, and said, let's just look at when life goes off the rails only, what's the response? The past 3-4 weeks have been more than enough. But yet there's more to the story and more happening that I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag. I told people it's a cliffhanger.
This story?
I
has
said
a
you
lot?
either have to wait until next week or you actually have to open your Bible. That's what I told people. If you can't wait, you got to actually read your Bible this week.
It's true.
Start in chapter 41. So, but we'll pick that up next week. But I found this interesting verse in Psalm 94. So when I'm putting together some notes for us, as you can see, every week we have our sheet. I'm always looking, just studying and seeing like, what else might add to the conversation.
Yeah.
And I'm not necessarily one of those people who are like, oh yeah, there might be 1 or 2 verses where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm putting in Psalm 23 like that. Or, oh yeah, we just dealt with Joseph and I want to start here like that. But then I start looking to see like, what is it that I don't know in Scripture that would fit here, right? As opposed to just me pulling only the things that are like in the memory banks.
Yeah.
And so Psalm 94, and every week every broadcast, there's always something where I've just looked and looked and looked. This is that one, because I really like it, and I wasn't familiar with it. I mean, I don't have Bible memorized. I mean, I think you do. But
I do, but I don't hold it against anyone else.
So humor me in this, because you're probably just yawning right now, because you're like, oh yeah, this whole thing. Psalm 94, verse 18 and 19. When I said my foot is slipping, your love, O Lord, supported me. When anxiety was great within me, your consolation brought joy to my soul. Oh man, the times we have anxiety.
Yeah, I love that. And
Right.
it's, you know what, that's a nice one to have shared there, because I couldn't have just picked that one
Picked
out
that
of
one
the
out,
top of my head. Yeah.
And I think about the fact that, remember, joy is an internal state of being, not an external one, right? Yeah. And so you say, my anxiety was great, but God, you came and comforted me. That's what consolation means. You came and comforted me and brought joy internally. Like, I have it inside, because everything that I lay my eyes on, you think about Joseph, everything I lay my eyes on is garbage right now. But you know what, God, I have you. And there are times we're going to slip. My foot is slipping, and you support us.
Yep.
And I think that's a great thing. So, anything else you want to add?
I think that's wonderful.
Okay, I think we're there, right?
Hey, continue on with this story of Joseph.
Yeah, so we give thanks that you spent some time with us today. And, we're just going to keep plugging through. We got a number of things going on this week. We have a memorial service for one of our longtime members on Saturday morning. And then we have worship this weekend, plus our normal activities. And, we want to be there for those who are struggling, I mean, that family has lost, a father, and we're going to care for them. And we just heard news today of another member who passed, and don't know any of the arrangements or anything like that yet, but we're going to walk with those who are struggling, and
Yes, we are.
and that's part of our journey, really living into Joseph's legacy of serving even when life is tough. So, but anyways, we hope you have a great rest of your day. We love you. Take care. God bless you. And Philip, would you play us out?